The world of love, fame, and betrayal just took a shocking turn, and Cardi B is at the center of it all. Fans are in disbelief as the secret that was supposed to stay hidden has finally been exposed. Stefon Diggs, one of football's brightest stars, allegedly had a secret affair with a young woman in Miami, and now the truth is out. The revelation has left Cardi B stunned, furious, and emotionally overwhelmed. For months, rumors swirled online, but nobody expected the bombshell to hit this hard. Social media erupted almost instantly, fans speculating, dissecting every photo, every comment, every hint. But this isn't just another celebrity scandal. It's a collision of personal betrayal and public scrutiny, where the stakes are higher than ever. Cardi B, known for her fiery personality and unapologetic honesty, isn't holding back. Her reaction is raw, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Stefon Diggs is facing a storm of questions from fans, the media, and the public alike, trying to make sense of how this secret went unnoticed for so long. And amid the chaos, everyone is asking, how will this affect their personal lives, their careers, and their public images? This is the story of hidden truths coming to light, of trust shattered, and of the explosive fallout when two worlds collide. If you think you've seen celebrity drama before, think again. This is a story that will have fans talking, arguing, and watching every move closely. The secret is out, and nothing will ever be the same. The revelation of Stefon Diggs' secret Miami affair didn't just make headlines, it shook the foundation of Cardi B's world. Social media was ablaze the moment the story broke. Fans flooded timelines with speculation, screenshots, and heated debates. Some defended Stefon, calling it old news, while others condemned him for deception and betrayal. But at the heart of all this chaos was Cardi B herself, grappling with a storm that had invaded both her personal and public life. For years, Cardi had navigated fame-related scrutiny, and the pressures of the music and entertainment world with confidence and resilience. But nothing could have prepared her for the emotional whirlwind triggered by this latest revelation. The anger, the disbelief, the heartbreak, it all collided at once, and the cameras didn't miss a single raw moment. Sources close to Cardi reveal that she felt blindsided. She had trusted Stefon, believing their bond was unshakable. Yet now, a hidden chapter of his life had emerged, casting doubt on everything she thought she knew about him. Friends describe her as visibly shaken, pacing her living space, replaying memories, and questioning every interaction that once felt genuine. Meanwhile, Stefon Diggs remained largely silent, a calculated move that only fueled the speculation. Was it guilt? Fear? Or simply an attempt to control the narrative before it spun completely out of his hands? Regardless, the public and media weren't willing to wait. Every gesture, every social media post, every public appearance was analyzed for clues. Fans dissected photos, videos, even the smallest details, attempting to piece together a timeline of the affair. The Miami connection added a layer of intrigue to the story. Rumors suggested that the alleged affair involved someone from Stefon's social circle in Florida, someone young and connected to the city's vibrant nightlife. It wasn't just a casual fling, it was a secret that, if fully exposed, could have serious personal and professional consequences. The stakes were enormous. Cardi B, known for her transparency and outspoken nature, eventually addressed the situation publicly, but even then, the words she chose reflected a deep mix of anger, hurt, and disbelief. She didn't hold back. In private conversations with close friends, she expressed her sense of betrayal, not only from Stefon, but from the entire world that had seemingly kept this secret under wraps until now. Experts in celebrity relationships note that affairs exposed in such a public manner carry unique emotional weight. Unlike ordinary private betrayals, these are amplified by millions of eyes watching, commenting, and passing judgment. The humiliation, combined with the sense of violation, often leads to long-term emotional consequences. Cardi was acutely aware of this. Her reaction wasn't just about the personal betrayal, it was about reclaiming her narrative before it spiraled further out of control. In Miami, Whispers of the affair began circulating months before the public revelation, but they remained tightly contained within certain social circles. Those in the know feared backlash, media scrutiny, and public shaming. Yet, as one insider explained, secrets this big rarely stay hidden. Once the truth comes out, there's no turning back. That's exactly what happened. The leak, whether intentional or accidental, ignited a media firestorm, forcing Cardi to confront the betrayal head-on. The timing of the revelation was particularly brutal. Cardi had been focusing on her music, tours, and personal projects, working tirelessly to maintain her brand and influence. For her, the emotional fallout was compounded by professional obligations. She needed to present strength publicly while managing an intensely private pain. Those closest to her describe her as walking a tightrope of composure, trying to navigate grief, anger, and public scrutiny all at once. Fans immediately took sides, dividing into two camps. Some were outraged on Cardi's behalf, calling for accountability and criticizing Stefon for the betrayal. Others attempted to defend him, citing his achievements, pressures of fame, or alleged misunderstandings. Social media hashtags exploded overnight, trending across multiple platforms. Memes, videos, and commentary flooded timelines, ensuring that this story would not fade quickly. Amid the chaos, Cardi's support system became crucial. Friends, family, and colleagues rallied around her, helping her process the emotional shock and plan her next steps. Advisors encouraged her to take control of the narrative, ensuring that her voice, not the gossip or leaks, was at the center of the story. Cardi's approach was strategic yet authentic. She knew the importance of timing, phrasing, and emotional resonance in addressing the public while preserving her dignity and sense of self. For Stefon, the exposure of the affair carried immediate professional risks. Sponsors, teams, and business partners closely monitor public perception, and scandals of this magnitude can have significant implications. Sources suggest that Diggs faced intense pressure to issue statements, navigate legal implications, and manage relationships affected by the fallout. But in many ways, the personal consequences of this revelation were more complex than the professional ones. The affair's exposure also reignited discussions about trust, fidelity, and privacy among celebrity couples. Experts argue that the public's fascination with celebrity relationships often amplifies normal human struggles into global spectacles. Cardi's emotional response became a case study in how public figures experience betrayal, not in private, but under the scrutiny of millions of fans and media outlets. It's about the human side of fame. Cardi B's experience highlights the emotional toll of discovering that someone you trust has hidden an entire chapter of their life from you. The story forces audiences to confront questions about honesty, accountability, and the ways in which secrets can unravel even the most carefully constructed relationships. As the news of Stefon Diggs' secret Miami affair spread, the emotional tremors reverberated far beyond social media timelines. Cardi B, already reeling from shock, had to confront not just the betrayal itself, but the tidal wave of public scrutiny that followed. Every glance, every comment, every viral clip added layers of pressure she hadn't anticipated. Friends described her as torn between rage and heartbreak, navigating a storm where private pain was transformed into public spectacle. Behind closed doors, Cardi wrestled with the question that countless betrayed partners face. How could someone she trusted so completely hide such a massive secret? But unlike the average relationship, this betrayal was amplified by the glaring spotlight of fame. Fans, journalists, and even casual observers dissected her every reaction, every post, every gesture. The intimacy of grief was stolen, replaced by a high-stakes performance of composure. Sources close to Cardi reveal that in the immediate aftermath, she turned inward, seeking solace and clarity. Longtime friends and family members became anchors. Late-night calls, private messages, and even unexpected visits allowed her to process the whirlwind without being interrupted by cameras or gossip. For Cardi, these moments were essential. She needed to find herself again before confronting the world, one insider explained. Meanwhile, Stefon Diggs' response, or lack thereof, continued to fuel speculation. Silence can be powerful, and in this case, it was deafening. Fans and media alike tried to piece together his side, analyzing past social media posts, interviews, and public appearances for any hint of acknowledgement. Yet Diggs remained carefully neutral, offering nothing to confirm or deny, letting the storm rage around him while attempting to preserve a semblance of control. The Miami dimension of the affair added a dangerous intrigue. Reports suggested that the relationship had not been a fleeting encounter, but something more sustained, involving parties, private gatherings, and social circles tightly woven into the city's nightlife. The secrecy wasn't just about hiding infidelity, it was about navigating layers of influence, social expectations, and reputational risk. People who knew were reportedly sworn to silence, either out of loyalty, fear, or the simple understanding that such secrets rarely remain contained. For Cardi, the public betrayal intersected with personal history. She had fought hard to define herself as an independent, strong woman in an industry that constantly judges, scrutinizes, and sometimes vilifies women in the spotlight. The revelation of the affair threatened that narrative, turning her personal life into fodder for discussion, debate, and memes. Cardi knew the stakes were high, not just emotionally, but culturally. Her response would signal to fans and fellow artists how women in the public eye confront betrayal, injustice, and humiliation. Experts in celebrity dynamics highlight the unique pressures of being both the victim and the public performer of emotional pain. When private heartbreak is broadcast to millions, it becomes a performance, whether the person wants it to or not. Cardi's strategy, according to those close to her, was a mix of transparency and calculated restraint. She wanted her voice heard, but she also wanted to avoid being dragged into the sensationalism that often accompanies celebrity gossip. Every word mattered. Every gesture was carefully curated. The stakes intensify. Cardi's social media presence became a battleground. Every post, comment, and story was scrutinized for hidden meaning. Fans combed through hashtags, emojis, and captions for clues about her emotional state. In some cases, supporters rallied in her defense, flooding comment sections with encouragement and outrage. In others, detractors criticized her reaction, questioning her loyalty, decisions, or even the authenticity of her emotions. The digital landscape had become a mirror of the real-world chaos, amplifying it and leaving no room for privacy. Meanwhile, rumors of additional complicating factors emerged. Sources hinted that Stefon's Miami connections included individuals who had overlapping professional and personal ties to both him and the alleged affair partner. This meant the situation was no longer simply about a private betrayal. It had ramifications across networks of influence, social circles, and even business opportunities. For Cardi, these complexities added another layer of frustration. She wasn't just dealing with heartbreak, she was navigating a minefield where every step could trigger public backlash or unwanted exposure. In private, Cardi reportedly struggled with anger management, trying to channel the intense emotions into constructive outlets. Longtime friends described her as explosively frustrated, venting to trusted confidants, exercising rigorously, and even using creative projects as a form of emotional release. Music, in particular, became a safe space, a channel through which she could reclaim power, process her feelings, and prepare for the inevitable public response. Stefon, on the other hand, faced his own emotional and reputational challenges. While the initial shock seemed to catch him off guard, the long-term implications were evident. Professional partners monitored every development, sponsors evaluated risk, and fans debated loyalty. In many ways, Diggs' silence became both a protective measure and a liability. It shielded him from immediate emotional confrontation, but also allowed narratives to form in public spaces, narratives that were often unflattering and, in some cases, entirely speculative. The tension shifts from emotional fallout to strategic action. Cardi's team began working behind the scenes, mapping out responses, managing media inquiries, and controlling the narrative where possible. This wasn't just damage control, it was an effort to establish clarity, maintain dignity, and prevent misinformation from overwhelming the truth. Cardi's voice was central, but so was the careful orchestration of messaging. In the high-stakes world of celebrity scandal, perception is often as powerful as fact. The affair also triggered conversations about accountability, gender dynamics, and power in relationships, especially when fame is involved. Analysts noted that public empathy often aligns with women in these situations, but the amplification of social media commentary also adds a form of judgment that can exacerbate emotional distress. Cardi's reaction became a symbol, representing both vulnerability and strength, and providing fans and observers a lens through which to examine their own assumptions about relationships, trust, and celebrity culture. The emotional intensity escalates. Cardi, exhausted from navigating both private grief and public scrutiny, begins planning her next moves. Interviews with close friends suggest she contemplated direct engagement with the media, creating a controlled environment where she could speak authentically without being ambushed. At the same time, she explored legal options, advice on privacy, and protective measures for her personal life. The betrayal was no longer just emotional, it was a strategic challenge requiring careful navigation. Meanwhile, the Miami narrative continued to unravel. Reports emerged of previously unknown encounters, messages, and interactions that added depth and complexity to the story. Each revelation seemed to layer the betrayal, making the emotional stakes higher and the public intrigue more intense. Fans, journalists, and analysts attempted to piece together the timeline, mapping connections and speculating about motivations. For Cardi, the relentless cycle of exposure and commentary reinforced the need for careful strategy, emotional resilience, and clarity of purpose. The story reaches a pivotal moment, Cardi's decision to reclaim her narrative. Rather than allowing rumors and leaks to dictate the public perception, she chose to confront the situation head-on, strategically addressing both the emotional and professional consequences. This moment represents a shift from reaction to action, from being caught in the storm to steering through it. Cardi's response is both personal and symbolic, signaling not only to Stefon, but to the world that she would not be reduced to the drama of someone else's choices. The fallout from this revelation continues to evolve. Fans anticipate Cardi's next steps. Stefon's silence remains a focal point, and the media's attention shows no signs of waning. As Part 3 will explore, the stakes escalate further, alliances shift, emotional confrontations intensify, and the true consequences of the secret affair are finally revealed. In the end, the story is about much more than betrayal. It's about power, identity, and the high price of secrets in the age of public scrutiny. The moment had finally arrived. The world was watching, and Cardi B was ready to confront everything head-on. Her heartbreak over Stefon Diggs' secret Miami affair had been building for weeks, a storm of betrayal, anger, and confusion. Fans were glued to every social media update, every subtle post, every cryptic story. This wasn't just a personal betrayal anymore, it was a full-blown cultural event. Cardi's team had spent days preparing. Interviews were scheduled, press statements crafted, and every angle considered. But beyond the logistics, there was something more personal at stake, reclaiming her narrative. For weeks, she had been the subject of speculation, memes, and rumors. People questioned her emotions, her decisions, and her credibility. This was her chance to speak without interruption, without distortion, without filters. As the cameras started rolling, Cardi took a deep breath. Her composure was flawless, but behind her eyes, the raw emotions were unmistakable. "I trusted someone," she began, voice steady yet intense. And that trust was broken. Not just once, not just in private, but in front of the world. The words hit hard. Fans watching at home could feel the weight behind every syllable. She described the shock of learning about the affair, the private pain magnified by public scrutiny. "It's one thing to deal with betrayal behind closed doors," she said, "but when the world is watching, every text, every conversation, every post becomes a headline." Her tone was both vulnerable and commanding. She made it clear that her story wasn't about revenge. It was about truth, dignity, and taking control of her life. Meanwhile, Stefon Diggs' silence had only intensified speculation. Public appearances, interviews, and social media posts were analyzed for clues, creating a constant buzz. Fans debated his intentions, his remorse, or lack thereof. Analysts weighed in on his career, his reputation, and the potential fallout. The pressure wasn't just emotional, it was professional. Every move mattered. Every decision carried consequences. Cardi also revealed the emotional toll of the betrayal. Nights spent in tears, moments of anger that boiled over in private, and the constant fear of public judgment. Friends and family were her anchors. Late-night phone calls, private gatherings, and candid conversations helped her navigate the chaos. "I had to find myself again," she said, "before I could face the world." Fans resonated with her honesty, relating to the universal pain of betrayal amplified to extreme levels. The Miami connection added layers of intrigue. Reports suggested the affair wasn't fleeting, it was sustained, involving parties, private meetups, and a web of social ties. The secrecy wasn't just about hiding infidelity, it was about managing reputations and navigating influence. People in Stefon's circle were reportedly sworn to silence, creating an environment where the truth was almost impossible to access. Cardi's strategy for reclaiming control became clear. Rather than responding impulsively, she focused on narrative management. Social media posts were deliberate, interviews carefully curated, and private conversations guarded. Her goal wasn't to attack, but to establish clarity, communicate her truth, and prevent speculation from dominating the conversation. In doing so, she transformed from a passive subject of gossip into an active author of her own story. Experts in celebrity dynamics emphasize that public heartbreak carries unique pressures. Cardi's dual role as victim and performer created a complex balancing act. Every emotion had to be calibrated. Too much anger could alienate fans. Too much vulnerability could be exploited. Cardi's response demonstrated a mastery of emotional intelligence under extreme conditions, turning personal pain into a platform for empowerment. As the story developed, legal and personal boundaries became intertwined. While the affair was personal, the public nature of celebrity relationships meant that every revelation had professional implications. Industry insiders monitored potential fallout, sponsors evaluated risk, and fans debated loyalty. The stakes were enormous, both emotionally and professionally. The confrontation scene, captured in a private but highly controlled setting, was intense. Cardi confronted Stefon with the details, her emotions raw yet measured. The exchange was tense, revealing not just the betrayal, but the psychological impact of secrets kept in the public eye. Every word, every reaction, was magnified by the cameras, creating a moment that fans would analyze for weeks. As emotions flared, Cardi made a decision that would define the next phase of her life. She wouldn't let the affair dictate her narrative. She wouldn't be reduced to a character in someone else's scandal. Instead, she reclaimed agency, asserting her voice, her perspective, and her dignity. The world saw a woman hurt, yes, but also a woman fiercely determined to rise above. The media frenzy intensified. Every outlet, every influencer, and every social platform dissected the confrontation. Yet Cardi's message remained consistent. This was about truth, accountability, and self-respect. She refused to be dragged into petty speculation or malicious narratives. Instead, she focused on her healing, her career, and the people who truly mattered in her life. Fans responded overwhelmingly. Support poured in, with messages praising her courage, resilience, and authenticity. Hashtags trending worldwide amplified her voice, creating a collective sense of solidarity. Cardi had turned the narrative, transforming what could have been a story of humiliation into a story of empowerment and self-assertion. By the end of the week, the public landscape had shifted. Stefon Diggs faced scrutiny, questions, and speculation, while Cardi had firmly established control over her own story. She showed the power of agency, the importance of clarity, and the impact of speaking one's truth. The affair, while painful, became a catalyst for self-assertion and public dialogue about trust, fame, and accountability. In her closing statements, Cardi addressed fans directly. "I've been through pain, betrayal, and public scrutiny. But I am not defined by what someone else did behind my back. I am defined by my choices, my courage, and my voice. And that voice is stronger than any secret, rumor, or betrayal." The words resonated deeply, capturing both her personal journey and a broader message about empowerment in the face of adversity. As the cameras faded, Cardi B had transformed the narrative from scandal to story of strength. The secret affair had been exposed, emotions had run high, and the public had witnessed heartbreak, but ultimately, they had also witnessed resilience. Her story became more than celebrity gossip. It became a lesson in navigating betrayal, reclaiming power, and controlling the narrative when the world is watching. And in the aftermath, one thing became clear: no secret, no affair, no public speculation could ever diminish her voice. Cardi B had reclaimed herself, and the world had no choice but to listen.